In this video, we'll be showing how there is a mission in the chart and we can divide the planets which are favoring and those who are against it. So I'm practicing Vedic astrology since more than 20 years and I have seen many reference points we can use to divide those planets for good and bad or mixed. And in this video, I will show you a few of these theories. So let's start with this example. Now, you may wonder why it is at all complicated, because there are good and bad planets, right? Those good are in good houses, Kendra or Kona, and those bad will be either weak, afflicted, or Dushan, right? This is what we are learning also on the course in the first few lessons, that the planet is set to give negative results when it's either weak or it's afflicted or it's in the bad sthana, which means usually the bad house. There is also a little bit more advanced things which can afflict the planet, like the Panchanga dosha or any other doshas. It can also be, for example, be rejected by the Atmakaraka and all this more advanced stuff. But I think in this video, what I want to show you is that we can divide these planets in those groups. There could be some middle ground. So there are some gray areas, like we will see also in this example. So in this chart, we can see how the Yama yoga totally dominated the chart. We have Mars and Saturn in the 10th house. And this is also, we may say, with Aruda Lagna. Here is a lot of complication to estimate where is the Aruda. We have 4 options, but we need to have some Mars because this person was into army, and we need to have some Sun because he's working currently in the politics. So there must be Sun, Mars related to Aruda. In fact, all 3 options are giving this position. But let's say it's in the Leo, so it's also favoring this yoga there. Now, the problematic with this first statement is that the planet may be well placed from the Lagna, which can mean that it works nice for your being, general physical, how it is smooth sailing, we could say. But then we have other reference point like Aruda Lagna. And this means that the planet now is favoring your image in society, also the wealth and this tangible, visible things. So now we have some additional information that this planet may be good for these mothers and bad for those mothers, right? So when we add more and more ascendants, like for example, we could say which planet is favoring the main yoga in the chart. This is also very important because the yogas will show these missions which are handed to you by the karma. So those positions which are against the yoga will also be negative, right? So for example, you rather, or some people rather to work in maybe uncomfortable situations, so the planet may be badly placed from the ascendant, but at least this is favoring my main mission. There are no obstruction to still continue what I'm doing. There is also the Jata Graha, which is the place in the chart which is showing what is important for you. We say it's a sign when we are meeting the Shiva. So if you will do that one thing in your life, then at the end you will be very satisfied that you have invested your time and energy in that place. For some people it can be career, for others it can be traveling, for others could be some founding some studio or creating something for art. So there are different type of, we could call it missions in life. In this chart, it is very interesting when we start from the marriage point of view. He was 3 times married. The first time it was in Mercury moon. We can see in the Navamsha, it's quite easy here. The planet must be connected to the 7th house, and we have 7th Lord Mercury aspected by the moon. So Mercury moon, very straightforward. Of course, there could be other options. It could be Jupiter also, because Jupiter is in 7. It could be Saturn, because Saturn is aspecting the 7th house. Although it's in Mara Nakarakasana, so maybe it's not in the good position to get marriage. But we could exclude those options using the other dashas. For example, here, the Narayana Dasha was of a Leo. Therefore, this Mercury and Moon is specifically more potent to give them marriage. The second marriage was in Mercury Jupiter. and Jupiter is dispositing the second lord Saturn and also aspecting the second lord. And we know that second house in the Navamsha is showing the second marriage. And also here, there was a scandal in the second marriage or during the second marriage. And he had children from another relationship, right? And it was all coming up in the Rahu. Now, the Rahu is the master of scandals. And we can see how Rahu is the Maraka or the end of a second marriage, because it's the third lord, right? Second house is the second marriage, and second from the marriage will end or sustain the marriage. So here Rahu is the third lord. And how it is ending, it is through some scandal. And for yoga to give children out of wedlock, it has to be Mercury Moon related. And exactly in the third house, we have that Mercury which is aspected by the moon. Yeah, we can say the Navamsha is rectified here. Mars is in the 10th house, so persons working in the army, especially we have this Mars and Ketu, often comes up with the security. Now he is working exactly at that responsibility. And we have also aspect of Saturn. So Mars, Saturn, right? It can give either working with property or being a judge, or it can be also working in some ways with the deaf. So it could also be present in the chart of spiritual people. And of course, the security, army, police, all those jobs will be there. Of course, Atmakaraka and Lagna will give in the Navamsha a possibility to rise to very high position. Just a reminder, if you'd like to have a consultation with me, 60 or 90 minutes on Zoom, when we are analyzing your chart, the Rasi, Navamsha, Dashamsa, all the yogas, the timings, providing the remedies to block the negative and allow the best potential in your chart, then you can find the link in the description. Okay, now let's go to the next step. So now if we have this general understanding of the yogas in the chart, what's going on, we have seen that this moon is very nicely placed, 9th lord in the 5th house. We have some issues with this Mercury and Venus because they are in the 8th Dasha of those planets. We will see how they are destabilizing definitely the personal life, married life. We have seen that this divorce was in the Gemini Narayana Dasha, and also the later allegations when he had the legal cases, when he was there was some accusations related to sexual assault, right? So something more serious when the violence was there, according to those people who were giving those allegations. We were also in that Venus Mahadasha. So that Venus Mahadasha was creating those problems. We have seen from the Lagna, not well placed. But as said, we need to confirm from other places. Very good indicator here also would be the Navamsha. Because in the Navamsha is like the filter of karma. And here we can also use the Atmakaraka in the Navamsha. In this case, it will be the Saturn. So we can see how these problems came in Venus and Sun. So Venus was the major period, Sun was the Antardasha. Now look how those planets are placed in the Navamsha. Venus is in 12th house, and Sun is in the 8th. Both from Navamsha Lagna and Atmakaraka, these are not good positions, right? And for example, compared to the Moon, Moon is very nicely placed in the 9th house, both from Navamsha and Atmakaraka, and nicely placed in the Rasi chart, also 9th Lord in the 5th house. So we can say that those periods of Venus and Sun will not be the best for the person. This is how it panned out, because those scandals, those allegations, and even the stabilization of the personal life. For example, he had this divorce. The first divorce was also in that period. So we can see how using the Navamsha is giving us those reference points, which will help us to divide those planets for good and bad, right? For good period and bad period. But it will always be good for something. And we can also see it in our life. Sometimes we have a period which is very good for personal life, but it's very bad for career life. We can be married, but then we are losing the job. And there could be some good information from one side, like you are getting a property, but then you have some bad health, you need to go for surgery or things like that. So therefore, we also have those Varga charts, because then in those divisional charts, you can also divide the planets based on the ascendant, right? So you have another reference point. If we use the yoga, then we will have at least information about which planets are favoring the main direction in your life. This is very important because, as said, we can tolerate many, many things, but the main thing which we give heart to it, which we sacrifice for, if that is going on, for some, as said, it could be family, for others it will be career life, for some it will be astrological research. If that train is going, then you can tolerate a lot. You may have bad health, you may have bad finances, right? There are people who are living not in very good financial conditions, but they can sacrifice their life for art. They can create. Other people have a lot of money, a lot of nice, very nice position, but they have no time to be in that position to create because they chose that type of life, right? So we have, as was said by Alex Hormozy, we have many opportunities but limited resources, right? So we have to allocate them properly. And one way to do it is to see the yoga, the Jatagraha in the chart, the Aruda, how they are placed. And of course, the Navamsha would be very important because that is the package of fortune, right? If you don't have these resources, this fuel to activate some manifestation in the Rasi chart, then they will also not function properly. So that that petrol, that fuel, that energy, that resource, the substance is also given in the Navamsha. So how much of the substance is there? Therefore, we have seen that this Venus and Sun, they were in 12 and 8 in the Navamsha. Therefore, these dashas were not the best. And also in the Rasi chart, these positions were not good. Therefore, we said that they destabilize the whole thing. Okay, so now if we do the small recap, we have to understand that the yogas in the chart are very important because they will show what is brought on us. Sometimes we may escape from the yoga if the Lagna Lord, because the Lagna Lord is showing where we are going, right? And there are also other positions using some of the Drekana to see if your energy is on that yoga, because sometimes you will have some no synchronity between what is given to you and where you are going. Sometimes you may have something given to you, but you are escaping from it. Like there are people who could live in inheritance, they have a lot of Raja Yoga, a lot of wealth, but they are preferred to live abroad. So they are leaving that situation and going somewhere else. So therefore, we need to, you can see, this is a complex thing because the life is also complex, but you will have a nice result when you will assign those points in the chart to that points in our real life. So the Ascendant Lord therefore shows your preference where you want to go. The yogas is the resources, the circumstances which are put on you from the Karmic master, and Navamsha is very important to fortune. What will run for a long time? What will be sustained? Because many things you can try, but those will stay which are well placed in the Navamsha. And then you also need to have the agreement or the people in the office, the people in your, it could be your followers, also your partners, they must also agree. So there is also the karma related to who you are surrounded with in your career life. It could be objects, people, all that situation. This is in the Dashamsa. This must also agree. Otherwise, it's only hobby, right? So the Dashamsa must also give its vote. Yes, you can do this thing. Like here, you can see in the Dashamsa, he has Mars in the second house. Sixth Lord is Mercury with Jupiter. This is expert, like Pandit, like guide. He is saying things, people are listening to him. So these were his main. We can see also this Ketu and Mars, Trikona Yoga on the 10th house. So there is a lot of this Pisacha, the security thing. Ketu is debilitated, so a lot of expertise and a lot of success, counterintuitive in the Dashamsa. Okay guys, so if you'd like to learn more about the Dashamsa, then please watch this video here.